You meet a lot of people that are doing it really tough. People who have had children that have been born with a disability. We've all got a member of our family that has been struck by cancer or dementia or Alzheimer's or heart disease. Whatever it may be, there's an affliction in every family and probably it's going to affect you.
Love your neighbour as you love yourself is the foundation of our mercy.
We are determined to honour the will of the Australian people. We have an election mandate to reduce the cost of living for Australian families.
It was in the Garden of Eden that Adam and Eve could do almost as they pleased.
Should we expect to go to the doctor for free? That's a reasonable question to ask. And I want to make sure that we can strengthen Medicare, but we're not going to do that by giving free services in the hundreds of millions each year in a country like ours. If we want to provide for people with no means into the future, then we're going to have an honest conversation about how we build and strengthen our system going forward.
Well, the petrol increase is probably about 40 cents, I think, in a tank of petrol. We're in a low inflationary environment at the present time, so it's not a big impulse.
Gina Rinehart, who has given what I'm sure is the best speech that anyone will give tonight.
The government will continue to pursue its repeal. Today we had the legislation before the Senate. There were amendments that were moved which we were willing to support, but they were withdrawn by Palmer United themselves.
If you think you can actually achieve that result by having a bunch of bureaucrats and politicians in Canberra picking winners, then I'm afraid to say, as a free market person, as a liberal, as someone who believes in free enterprise, I disagree.
So are there any questions from the media on the issues that I've been here to announce today, and it's been my pleasure to do? I'll take that as a ringing endorsement from the media.
I should particularly mention the Shadow Attorney-General, George Brandis, who did such magnificent work in opposing the current government's attack on free speech.
Ultimately, if a mother is choosing to stay at home when their youngest child turns 6 and they have the capacity to work, why does everyone else in the community have to pay them money?
I think we've kept faith with what we said to the Australian people in the election campaign.
The government's policy on Operation Sovereign Borders has been crystal clear, and I really don't understand the surprise that I see on some of the faces. And specifically on this issue of communication, it is exactly as I indicated things would be done before the election. And I can understand that there is significant interest in this. But the public interest in this, from my perspective as Minister, is the national interest. The Australian people would have every right to feel dudded. They're not going to be dudded by this government because we mean what we say and we say what we mean when it comes to our borders.
The Institute of Public Affairs.
They are an extremist splinter group from the most extremist terrorist group the world has seen.
We share foundational values about liberal democracies and human rights, and Aussies know how to fight.
Sometimes, in the heat of discussion, you go a little bit further than you would if it was an absolutely calm, considered, prepared, scripted remark.
The aim of this is to ensure that we can get people into work. There's many young people who are working part-time. I know of young people who are working a couple of part-time jobs. It's not fair to them when they're putting in the effort to get the training and the education and get themselves through university or TAFE or whatever, for someone simply to be lying around on the couch.
No cuts to education, no cuts to health, no change to pensions, no change to the GST, and no cuts to the ABC or SBS. Let me finish. I think that's a pretty odd conclusion. Curse must be banished from our society.